What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college basketball coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a young and bright assistant coach, and I say young because he's young in age, but he's had a lot of experiences. He's been in this business with a great basketball mind, excellent talent evaluator, comes from a basketball family. He was also named one of the top 50 most impactful assistant coaches at low major college level. So definitely a future head coach in this business in my eyes, and a native of Columbus, Georgia, Donovan Williams. And Donovan, being from Columbus, played out in Missouri at Park University for 4 years and graduated in 2008. And then from there, he got right into coaching. I'm not surprised by that. Went to Georgia Tech as a graduate assistant for 2 years. And then once he left Georgia Tech, he goes to Lafayette, where actually we came into the league at the same time in the Patriot League. Him being at Lafayette, and I was at American at the time, and he was there for 5 years with Fran O'Hanlon, where they did a great job. Actually beat us in the semifinals. I remember my first year, and for them to go to the championship game, and then he ended up winning the championship as well while he was there. And then from Lafayette, he goes to Princeton for 1 year with Coach Earl, and then he goes to Cornell for 3 years. So he stays in the Ivy League for 4 years as an assistant coach, before now being at Longwood University, just finished up year one, heading into year two. I know those guys can do an outstanding job of turning that program around and having a chance to win the Big South Championship eventually. Great coaching staff there. Want to welcome to the show a guy I've been known for, 10 years now, man, and always respected his work. Welcome to the show, Donovan.
Yeah, Lamar, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate the introduction. Man, you could sure make me sound good.
Hey, man, your work speaks for itself. That's what I always say. Well, look, man, we're going to jump right into it. Let's go ahead and get unmasked. And, like I said, you came straight from playing to coaching, being a young age. So now you're a graduate assistant. But then you go right in 2 years later, you're a full-time assistant. There's no handbook to being a college coach. Tell me about first day, first week, first month, after all things are done with human resources and orientation, especially like no one gives you direction. Like, talk about that experience.
Yeah, so for me, man, I've been very fortunate, and there's no question that I've been very blessed to have the opportunities that I've had thus far. I remember my first day at Lafayette, I kind of got the job a little bit later. So, they'd already started school, and then they've already been in the workouts. And they had a veteran team when I was there, a team that just played in the Patriot League Championship the year before I got there. So, with the motion and the offense that Fran O'Hanlon runs there, man, my head was swimming for sure. So it was a great opportunity, man. I thank Coach O'Hanlon to death, but it was, like you said, there's no like lesson plan given to you or no particular way that things are going to matriculate. But I owe Fran O'Hanlon a lot. But it was a great experience. Just getting there, I was fortunate to have some great assistant coaches to work with to just kind of lead and help guide me through the day in and day out process. Because sometimes you get to a new job, especially early on, man, it can be a little bit intimidating as you're trying to, navigate the planes there.
So true, man. Now, you are so true about that. Let's talk about recruiting, because that's the lifeline of college athletics. We all know that. You got to get good players, you got to get good people. And in your case, when you first start, you got to get good students. I mean, I always say this, man, when you talk about Ivy League, Patriot League, or any of some of the academic institutions, like, you just got to find players that are really good basketball players that happen to be really good students. Yeah. Like, and then, then you go to Princeton. You go from Lafayette, Princeton, Cornell. and then now you're at Longwood, but talk about your best and worst recruiting stories you might have had over the years.
Ooh, yeah, that's a great question. Recruiting is, it's interesting. Every case is different. Every kid is different. So just trying to be able to connect, and kind of figure out, those things that matter to a kid are ultimately important, But, I've had some interesting recruiting stories. Let's see. I guess one, being from Georgia, I went to play college ball in the Midwest, so I did experience a little bit of snow and, Pennsylvania, with Lafayette and Princeton. But then when I get to Cornell, recruiting up there was a little bit different. We couldn't always, go after targets early on in the process and, just be able to steal a guy early. Guys want to kind of see their options from time to time. So, a lot of times it kind of forced us to recruit a little bit more throughout the season. And, if you know anything about Ithaca, New York, as you get to January and February, you do get your fair share of snow up there. But I do remember this one particular kid. I'm not going to mention his name, but a kid from Georgia. His dad actually went to the Ivy League, so we thought we had a pretty good end with him. But he was, just really blowing up during his senior season. And things were starting to pick up, January, February, and, we were going to try to, it sounds like he was ready to make this decision here sometime soon. So we kind of were left with no choice but to bring him up, within conference play. And just one of those times where it was a snowstorm going on. I'm thinking, everything, snow, it shouldn't be that bad. But this particular snowstorm, it was rough. So, picked him up, an hour drive to Syracuse from Ithaca, took about 2. But we give him the campus, man. And, I thought the visit went as well as it could. The game he was at, we won. After the game, Saturday night, went out with the guys. The guys got along with him really well. And, I just remember when our host for the visit was like, "Coach, man, I drive a little Honda, man. I'm not necessarily sure if I'll be able to drive him back to his hotel after we hang out a little bit." So, of course, I get the phone call like 12:30 at night. It's like, "Coach, can you?" I think he's ready. I think he's ready to go back to the hotel. So, me driving just out my driveway at that time was, it was pretty scary. Again, being from Georgia, not really having a ton of experience driving in the snow. Going to my player's house on the hill where it's, the snow is coming down faster than the people can plow. It was pretty interesting. I had a pretty big SUV. I was fit for the occasion and, got him to his hotel and, we got him to the airport safely, that Sunday. Ultimately, that kid did not come, which still hurts a little bit. They all hurt when they say no. I will say that's the most interesting recruiting story that I might have today.
I'm sure it is, like, and you don't matter, like, people don't realize that those small things matter. He probably like, man, I don't know if I can deal with this snow. Like you said, you being from Georgia, and him being from Georgia, you don't see that much. Like, those small things matter. He probably went to a warmer place too. I'm not gonna say I don't even want to know where he went, but I'm sure it's a little bit warmer place than Ithaca, New York. Trust me. Yeah. You've been in this business, man. You've been around it all your life, so you know what it is. And your brother coaching, your dad was a coach, but now you're in college and it changes a little bit. What did you have to give up or sacrifice, man, achieving your current level of success?
Wow. In this profession, you learn, there's a lot of sacrifice involved, just the constant everyday grind. And, obviously I played college ball, but then, you get to Georgia Tech, at the highest level and, you're just seeing the day in and day out grind, of everything, at the low level, stuff isn't, you're not on top of things, you might get a slap on the wrist, but it's not national news. At Georgia Tech, if something goes uncovered or high major level, something happens, like it makes national news. So, it becomes that much more important to make sure you're on top of things. But, obviously the sacrifice, of recruiting, the day in and day out of recruiting and, kind of what you learn over the years is, recruiting is every day, it doesn't stop. So, obviously the phone calls at night, the recruiting season during the season, recruiting during the season, being away from your family and, I'm a middle child, so I'm just naturally a family guy, having an older brother and a younger sister, I'm always, trying to stay connected. So that family is important to me. But I will say that's the biggest sacrifice. But, over time you figure out to be able to kind of work smarter, not harder. I think as a young coach, you're just trying to find your way. You're trying to figure out how to swim. But sometimes, as you learn and you're in that water longer and longer, you kind of figure out how to float, and some different things to maneuver and, just your experiences, help you over time.
So true, Donovan. That's so true, man. Scout reports. We all know how, people invest a lot of time in those scout reports. And you can always tell, like, who scouted is on the sideline. The coach that's jumping up the most and being a maniac and want to yell and scream. But then, like, because people don't understand. Like, I've had friends that they come over the house and they're like, "You doing all that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They was like, "How many games you watch?" I said, "Man, I watch like 7, 8, sometimes 9 games." And he's like, "What?" All of that. They don't understand, like, how much time you put into it. The kids don't understand that. They think you just watch games. And so you put this great scout report together. You got the actions. You got the quick play calls. And then you go out and you deliver it. You got to deliver it as best as you can to prepare these kids to win. And then sometimes it might be one of those guys that on the scout that hasn't played or he's shot 2 for his last 30 and now he decides to make 3 or 4 in the game. It's your scout, coach turning looking at you and he's yelling like, "I thought he couldn't shoot." So no, coach, I didn't say he couldn't shoot. I said he was struggling. So then, like all the terminology, the language that you say to the coach, not only the players, but the coach is so important. But talk about your best and worst scouting reports, man, like over the years.
Well, it's interesting, man. Scouting, when I think about scouting, man, obviously you want to be as prepared as you can possibly be, for any question that coach might have for you, you want to be able to answer it, without having to kind of look back at paper or, look at other stats. You just want to be on top of it and, feel like you're prepared. But ultimately it's not necessarily what it's about, what your players can retain and, what they can go out there and execute. But at the same time, as a coach presenting that scout, you always got to be prepared. Trying to think here. I'll probably say, one of my interesting scouting reports was probably when I was at Lafayette. We were, my last year there, we were rolling. We had a senior-led group. We non-conference, we were doing very well. And then the game before Christmas, we had to go play at Kansas, at Lawrence, in Lawrence, at Allen Fieldhouse. So, I'm feeling pretty good about the team. I think we're, maybe like 7-2 going into the game. We got some older guys. I'm looking at Kansas's roster. They don't have a senior. I think like Perry Ellis was their best player. He might have been a junior at the time. And Graham and some of those other guys were like freshmen and sophomores. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I feel like we could play with anybody, So, I'm doing my scout. I'm thorough with it. And, I know every action. And Coach Self is, just doing that scout, man. You start to pick up on, things that coaches do and, adjustments that they make. So you're just really like kind of blown away, and, just kind of humbled by, just the fantastic coaches that are out here. But anyway, yeah, we get out there and, I would say we hung around for like 2 or 3 minutes. And by that first media timeout, man, it's like kind of all thrown out the window, man. And you're just, you're just trying to fight. And, but at some point, man, you're just trying to get out of there. But, scouting's interesting. That was a humbling experience for myself, to say the least.
Well, I would say this. I experienced Kansas, and I don't care where I played in the country, best place to play a college basketball game, like the ones that I played in, it was unbelievable. That experience at Fog Island Fieldhouse is unbelievable. It's a cold out there. I'm sure you experienced that. Like, it don't even matter who they play. It's
right.
Still going to be packed. They're going to be there 2-3 hours before the game, like in the line. It's actually a cult. And trust me, I experienced it. Kansas. When was that American, actually? And, I think I went through the same thing you went through. Like, we were hung in there for the first few minutes, and then all of a sudden, they are who they are for a reason. That's all of a sudden.
There are kids hanging there over interim, when no classes aren't in session, and it's still, we pull up and student section's already packed and a long line waiting outside. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we played them on December 28th, and I'm like, they're playing American. Like, really? Like, I didn't expect that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're hanging out at the hotel, which is actually a nice hotel. I'm sure y'all stayed in the same one, but it was actually pretty good, man. I mean, I enjoyed that experience. Yeah. What's the biggest challenge, man, you think you've experienced since you've been become a college coach?
Biggest challenge. You know what? The challenge sometimes that I ran into over the years, because I just finished year 12. Being an assistant coach. I would say my youth sometimes. Because I've been in the business 12 years, and I know I look young and appear young and inexperienced at times, but I've been around a little bit. Till this day. When we're traveling with the team, I still get mistaken for being one of the guys, and still get asked if you play. But I think over time I've learned to embrace it a little bit more, because 34 years old, and trying to hang on to it as much as I can, Lamar.
I feel you, man. Now, like I said, I think you got a chance to be an outstanding coach. I mean, being a head coach at this level. I mean, at college basketball. Like, do you find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? What are they?
Do I think misunderstand? That one's got me a little bit. You got your questions rolling there, Coach. That one's got me stuck a little bit.
Because you're not a guy, like, and I say this because you come in, you do your work, like you speak to everybody, like you speak. That's just who you are. I mean, both your brother the same way. Your brother probably got a little bit more outgoing personality than you do, probably. I would think, right? Yeah. But you still come in and you're cordial, you speak, but you come in and do your work. So that's why I was saying, like, do people like, oh, who he think he is, or that stuff? You're not hearing that, but do you think like people just like say, like he speak, but he don't really conversate with us? I think you just do your job. So that's why I asked that question. I always ask that question to everyone, because some people do have perceptions about people, and you don't understand. You don't know why, but you're not that type of person. Because I know you. I've been knowing you for a long time, so that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, I think sometimes, you can maybe come off as being quiet or reserved at times, and it's tough, in July, when you're, especially in the Ivy League, you're trying to scour and see so many kids, sometimes it's tough to kind of sit back and converse or whatnot. So, I feel at times, I guess I will say, some people might think I'm reserved. I guess maybe being the younger brother, younger sibling, my brother's who coaches at Kennesaw State, he's a character for sure. A little bit of a joker there. So, I'm pretty outgoing. I guess when you get to know me, when I'm on the floor, interacting with the guys and, and recruiting. And I guess it's just one of those things again.
Yeah, but that's what people think until, like you said, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show too, was I want people to understand, no, this guy's in this way. He's this way because of that. And I don't think enough of us communicate in this business when we're out, because we're also, and it's not that you got to be, jokey and laughing, but some guys walk in the gym and we know this, they look at what's on the shirt. Right. And if it's not their level or whatever, they don't deal with you, yeah. So, and it's always they're with their clique. It's like guys have cliques and they don't even realize it. It's like high school. That's what it's like a little bit. So that's why I just wanted to ask that question. Now, listen, man, you come from, this game is all about teaching. It's all about educating. I mean, not just on the court, but off the court. What do you try to teach your players besides basketball?
Well, yeah, just over time, man, guys, coming in to you, mostly at 18, 19 years old, man, just, trying to teach them how to work. I think that's the biggest thing, first and foremost, when guys get on the collegiate level, you're just trying to show them where that bar is, and over time, man, all the great players that I've had, the all-league players that I've been able to coach and been blessed enough to get to know, they've all had a understanding of where that bar is. So really just teaching guys how to work, where that bar, how to work, just because, how you worked in high school is much different than, how it is in the collegiate level. Just because it's a business here, it's a business, people sign, scholarships and think they're 4 years, but, kind of like us as coaches, to be honest, as players, man, it's year to year. It's so much turnover with the transfer portal and everything. Everything is being constantly evaluated. So first and foremost, trying to teach guys where that bar is. Secondly, man, just, trying to, as coaches, my dad was a high school coach, and seeing the impact that he had on these young men in our society, man, is really, really kind of hit home with me. So just trying to be impactful and, and trying to turn young men, into men, so, that's a big key, and trying to teach guys to be able to kind of leave things better than how they found it.
I love that answer. I love it, man. Leaving things better than when they found it, man. I like that. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
Best memory of coaching. I would say, getting to the NCAA tournament for sure. And really that whole year in 2015, while at Lafayette, we had a senior-led group, and that was actually my 5th year at Lafayette. So, being able to be there with those guys through their recruiting visits, getting them on campus as freshmen, and then seeing them able to, ultimately, win the Patriot League tournament, get to the NCAA tournament, that was just an unbelievable experience. And it's none like it. It's all about, getting to that tournament, and, ultimately not only getting to that tournament, but, just that banquet night. I thought that was just so special, man. And Coach O'Hanlon does a really good job, giving, when we do the end of the year banquet there, he'll let the seniors, talk a little bit, and just kind of let them kind of wing it of how they see fit, and, just the gratitude and appreciation, that they had and displayed there, man. That was definitely a special group, and as always kind of set with me and drove me, to try to emulate that feeling again.
Awesome. Wow. And I asked this too, what was the most stressful situation you think you have faced? I mean, sometimes stress don't even, it could be the smallest of things, but anything, what's the most stressful situation you faced?
Ooh, stressful. Well, I definitely know in this business, I've knocked on wood, being fired is, that seems like the most stressful in the business. And I've been fortunate enough where I haven't had to go through that yet. But from everybody I talked to, man, they said, it hadn't even started until you get fired yet. That's when That's when you know you're really in this business. But, you know, I think stress, you know, for me, you know, bouncing around a couple places, you know, when you first get that job, man, you know, at any level or any place, you know, just trying to figure out the landscape, you know, and understand your head coach. You know, I think when you first get to a place and trying to understand, you know, what your coach is looking for in recruiting, you know, and that's one thing I've had to learn. You know, sometimes it's not always about getting the best player, you know, or getting the most talented guy, but it comes down to like finding the guy that fits your head coach's system and his philosophy. So I think like getting to a new place, that could be a little bit stressful trying to navigate that, you know, as you're trying to please your head coach and do that, you know, to his liking, to his fitting. Because, you know, you got to take yourself out the equation. You know, you might be out here recruiting, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's not your program. So, you know, that could be a little stressful at times as far as, you know, just trying to find your niche into things.
I like that. I mean, I'm glad you said that. I hope these young guys understand that when they listen to this. This you talked about a little bit early. This was a recruiting one. This is when you were recruiting a guy. So if you in Ithaca, I'm sure it was a ton more snow stories or things like that, or anything. But like, what's the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
Oh, wow.
And we don't have to name names here. We can keep it that way. So
the strangest thing a player has done outside the basketball court. Wow. I'm gonna try to, guess, you know, you're trying to figure out what stories you can tell and what you can't tell. That was pretty strange. Okay, well, this involves me a little bit too, because I had to be of some assistance. But you know, one thing I guess was, you know, during my time at Lafayette, a player, you know, the season just, the school year just ended. You know, it was like senior week. You know, school's just ended. So, you know, of course, you know, guys are hanging out or, you know, getting ready to go home, but, you know, having those last hurrahs with their friends and whatnot. But, you know, I was supposed to take one of my players to the airport. And this particular player was from California, but he wasn't a senior, but he was left right before senior week. But he was from California, and, you know, I knew I had to take him to the airport at like 5 or 6 in the morning. So, you know, I'm calling his phone at like 5 a.m. and like trying to figure out where he is. And, you know, he's got a flight there in a couple hours, and he's not picking up his phone. So I'm like, man, this kid's he's already got to stop, you know, two stops on his flight to California. Like, if he misses his flight, man, he might just be stuck here for a while. So, you know, somehow you know, I end up going to his window in his dorm, and I'm knocking on his door. I'm knocking on his window, and he's not picking up, and he's still not getting up. I'm calling him several times, and he's not getting up. Luckily, I find the laundry room on that floor. I end up going through the window in the laundry room, and I go to his door, and crazy enough, his door was unlocked. I go in, and he's sleeping in his bed. And I was like, yo, man, you want to go home or not? So that was pretty weird. So we rushed because we were already running late, and you know, I was able to get him to the airport, and he actually made it home. So, but that was probably the strangest experience that I've had, you know, with the kid, you know, trying to get him home.
Climb through the window. Wow, that's the first I've heard. You know what? That's the first I've heard. But I'm trying. It's something out there that's I could believe is a little worse than that. Man, you've worked with some really good guys. You talked about Fran O'Hanlon. You talked about and I think I know you worked with Earl and then and the same thing. And I'm thinking about like Paul, I think you was with Paul at the end, right? Paul Hill was still there at Georgia Tech, so another great basketball guy. And I say this because if you had a chance, like besides those guys, if you had a chance to like sit down talk with guys in the business. You want to pick their brain, not just for now, but for your future. If you had a chance to be a head coach, just to see how they tick. What 3 guys would you want to go grab lunch or dinner with, spend a couple of hours with, just to pick their brain and see, what made them what they are today? Who would some of those guys be?
Wow. That's a great question. It's a lot of great coaches in this profession, man. The more, outlets like this I listen to, the more podcasts I listen to, I'm just, constantly blown away. And, in this profession, man, you're constantly learning. 12 years, I think in 20 years, 30 years, however long I'm doing this thing, I'm always going to be learning, and you always strive to learn each and every day. Of course, I think Mike Krzyzewski, just his experience, starting off in the Patriot League at an Army, and, obviously being at the highest level at the Blue Bloods, and, coaching Team USA, and, having that experience of coaching, guys at all levels, and then ultimately, some of the best that the game's ever seen, with USA basketball. He would definitely be one, just his approach. The other one, I've been very fond of the work that Anthony Grant has done, being, that he's been at all different type of levels and all different type of schools. I don't know him personally, but, just seeing, the stops that he's made, and, I've listened to him on a couple podcasts, and, he sounds like a fantastic coach, very thorough, and ultimately, man, you look at the year to date and had this past year, man, it was, one for the record books that we all feel, like we're somewhat cheated to see. But, I would say Anthony Grant would be one. And then number 3, probably Jay Wright. Just my 9 years working up there in the Northeast, being able to see Villanova, kind of front and center, and the work that Jay Wright does. He doesn't always get the McDonald's All-American type guys. He sometimes, signs guys, kind of off the grid a little bit. He takes chances on some different guys, and, ultimately he gets the most out of his guys. So just the job that he's done there, and just the consistency that he's had there, year in and year out. You can always pencil Villanova to, kind of be in the mix, in the national landscape. But yeah, I definitely been impressed with him and his staff there. He's had some great assistants that are some really good dudes, and pretty open-minded, to talking to me, and but yeah, again, like that's some great coaches out there. So it's hard to just choose 3, but those are the kind of 3 guys that come to mind.
And you know what, you can't go wrong with them. When you talk about it, there's a lot of great coaches out there, and you pick 3 different guys, like, that do it different ways and still got success. So that's and you can take something from each one of those guys, which is a plus. And I know you go back to, you talk about the 2015 year, and then I kind of try to see if this question is any different, or the answer going to be any different from when people talk about their success from a basketball standpoint, because it doesn't always equate to basketball or life, or a basketball wins. But what's the biggest accomplishment you've experienced as you have become a college coach? Because you said something before that was interesting, and we'll knock on wood about it later. But what's your biggest accomplishment you've experienced since you become a college coach?
The season could be a long season. I would say just at my time at Longwood in year 1, there can be some dog days. It can be somewhat of a roller coaster day in and day out, and you go on a losing streak, but really just trying to connect with your guys, and trying to figure out how to make your guys successful. Obviously in the long run, but in the short term as well. And we were able to do that here at Longwood this year. We won, 7 out of our last 9 games to finish the regular season. So, just to kind of see that turnaround and that focus that we had to be able to turn things around late in the year, I thought was quite special. And, ultimately that's when you want to be playing at your best as well. So, when guys can be locked in, especially now, going from, the Ivy League and Patriot League where you don't necessarily get a chance to work with your guys in the summers to now being at Longwood, where we get our guys in June and, it's a little bit of a longer year, but, I thought that was, this was new for me this past year. And, just being able to see our guys be able to overcome that this year and, be playing at such a high level late in the year, I thought that was very fulfilling to me.
Awesome, man. I like that because it's different. It's not always about the wins. It's not always about it's just what's different. What in your accomplishment might that's a big one because you're doing things is a little bit different than what you have. So I love that answer. All right, this might stunt you a little bit because people are always like, what did that come from? Like, what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
Oh man, movie describes your week. Things are a little bit different now just because we're, going through the pandemic and everything. So, day by day, you just don't know what you're going to get. You're going to workout now. We've been fortunate enough to have our guys on, but, coming out of workout, you can look at your phone and who knows what type of news, you'll have on your phone there. So, kind of what describes your week. It's almost like Inception. It's like a dream inside of a dream because, ultimately, like we're living a dream, being able to coach college basketball and be able to work with our guys. But, with some of the stuff that's going on in the world, man, it's almost like I'm in another dream, just because you can't predict what's going on. But, all you can do is, take it day by day and, you wake up and, live every day with a purpose, and try to be better each and every day.
That's actually deep right there. Like that's the first one I've heard, but I love that answer though. That's pretty deep. I like that. Inception. What's your favorite word or phrase? Because you've been around your dad, so you probably heard some, but like, what's your favorite word or phrase?
Well, my dad he just retired coaching high school ball in Georgia. So he was a little old school. So we're gonna stay away from his phrases a little bit. But, one thing that Coach Griff Aldridge here at Longwood, one thing we preach every day is excellence. We have some of our core values and, I think excellence is something that we try to hit on each and every day. He has a little bit of a business background and, he worked in law in the past as well. So, he's a grinder, and we've been big on just, every day, man, trying to be excellent, and trying to stay true to our core values and, trying to make most of this time, these 5 weeks that we've had on campus with our guys here this summer.
Good stuff. Wait, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice. Wow, I've been around some great coaches, throughout my time. I think, one thing that I was told, when I, left Georgia Tech and Paul Hewitt and went along with and got to work with and for Johnny O. One thing I was told every day, man, they said recruit every day. Recruit every day. And that was, kind of hearing them at the highest level, and being able to tell me that, I'm thinking like, wow, So, each and every day, no matter what you have going on, I would say recruit every day, but ultimately, try to get a little bit better every day. And as a young coach, And even now, being a father of two, sometimes time can time can be rough and unpredictable, but you still try to make a little bit of time and be efficient in your day to try to get a little bit better each and every day.
I like that the Casey veteran Johnny O. Wow, man, that's the name from the past right there. Wow, Johnny O. What does success mean to you?
Success to me, ultimately, being around and being at different levels and coming across, tons of different guys and personalities over these 12 years, ultimately is trying to turn boys into men, seeing guys graduate, seeing guys mature and go off in the world and be successful. And, I think that's the thing that hits most. And again, that goes to my early childhood, bringing up my dad, playing for my dad at, not necessarily the best school, where, or not necessarily the school that was known for, constantly sending guys or people to college, but, and from some tough backgrounds. So, just being impactful and changing families, changing lives, and, ultimately being able to provide for my own family in the process. I think that's what means the most to me, and that's really why I do it.
Awesome, man. And I asked this because you said something. I mean, you've been some pretty good places, and you've been winning. But now, like you said, and this might have been, so it's been a different year this year, being at Longwood and talking about towards the end started winning. But like where's your happy place? Because like you talked about when you lose that recruit, sometimes it's tough. Like, we always say this, like everyone says this, the best answer is yes, the second best answer is no, but you don't want to be told no. You're a competitor, and sometimes it's a little bit tougher than some losing recruits. Losing some recruits a little tougher than others. Losing games, bad day of practice, just stuff don't go right. But like, where is your happy place? Like that spot you can go to and like, all right, I'm okay right now.
Well, like I said, this time in the pandemic, man, has really made you kind of focus in and see what's important. And, again, like I've always been a family-oriented guy. So, after a long day, win or loss, man, you go home and, being able to spend time, with my wife and my two kids, whether I'm changing diapers, but just seeing them grow and, trying to make the best life for them. I think my answer has changed over the years, but yes, that's my happy place for me, man. And, ultimately, at the end of a long day, spending time with them and when they go to sleep too, that can be a relief as well. But, man, I'm just, I couldn't be more blessed in the situation that I am, and, have a wife that's understanding and who also played, collegiate ball as well. So she understands the business. That's been very helpful, throughout my journey.
Great answer, man. I like that. You've never been a self-promoter. Your work speaks for itself. But if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
3 adjectives to describe myself. I think the first would be competitive. Having an older brother, man, that beat up on you every day. I still always would fight back. So it started at an early childhood, being in a family of sports. We always wanted to win. So I would definitely say competitive. Even with the guys, every now and then I try to run out there with them, even though I can't keep up. But just trying to show them the fight and the mindset, is key. So competitive is one. Caring, being a family-oriented guy, being all in, whatever job or coach I'm working for, that's who I'm with. We're in this fight together. Those guys that we go out on the floor with, that's my team, that's my family, that's who I'm ride or die with. And I'll do anything for those guys. So caring. And then my last one would be ideally try to be thoughtful, and that's what I'm constantly working on. But, as you're learning in this profession each and every day, but, and I think, I sit back and I listen, and, you want to try to be thoughtful and bring new ideas, to the table, and, kind of go about your day in that way.
Love those three answers. Now, what persons, and or event has had the most influence on your life?
I'm gonna say definitely my dad and my brother. My brother's, he kind of, he's a Division I college coach. But I think it started even before my brother, as a freshman in high school, when my brother was off to college, having my dad be pretty hard on me as a freshman, not give me anything. And then kind of how I got into business, Lamar. I don't know if not many people know this, but I remember being my senior year in high school. My dad coached the varsity and he coached the freshmen on Saturday mornings. So, kind of how I got my start into coaching, we had a big Friday night win against a rival in town. And, of course, all the coaches would come over to the house Friday night, eat wings, pizza, some adult beverages, and kind of watch the game over. And, that was super impactful with me just being a student of the game. But, I remember, that was one Friday night. My dad was like, hey, how about you go up and go coach the freshmen on Saturday morning? Right now I think we were like 1-2 at the time. So he was like, I don't know, you go coach them. So I was like, okay. So, Saturday morning, 8:30, I grab the jerseys and the ball, and, I go up to the gym, and, I coached the freshman team. And actually that was my first coaching victory. So, I get back home, a little bit afternoon, and then, my dad said, how y'all do? And I'm like, we won. So he was like, why don't you go coach them then? So that was super impactful. I didn't know I wanted to be a coach at the time. Like, it really didn't even hit me until, I really got into college, my junior and senior year. But, I would say my dad, just having that type of impact, and I don't know if he was doing that on purpose, but, he was planting those seeds early on, you could say.
Wow, that's pretty good. Like, and you know what though? None of us, it's amazing that the guys that end up, some of the guys who end up coaching, because everybody wants to be a player, everybody wants to be a pro, everybody, and then it's like, well, I don't really want to coach. I want to go make money, because that's how guys think. And like my high school coach kept telling me, you're gonna be a coach. My college coach kept telling me, you're gonna be a coach. And I'm like, I'm not coaching. I'm going to make me some money, man. And this is how amazing how they see stuff that you don't. Your dad did see that and put that right, planted the seed like you said. And I look at you now. I mean, now you what's that? That's 16 years later. And let me look at you now. I like to end with this one because I always like where you came from and where you are now. But like knowing what you know now, like, what would you tell your younger self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
Wow. Another great question. One thing I didn't learn that I wish I would have did more of as a younger coach, and I tell our grad assistants this now, write stuff down. I worked at, Georgia Tech, Paul Hewitt, get the Lafayette friend on Helen, another great mind, Mitch Henderson, Princeton, Brian Earl at Cornell, and I didn't hear somebody tell me that until I got to Cornell, and that was kind of their journey. And it was like, man, write stuff down, have a little booklet by the year, day in, day out with some of these meetings, and, just be a sponge. And, obviously, man, you can take a lot in by hearing, but, it's nothing better than like being able to take those words, being able to write them down. It's almost like going to church, taking notes from a sermon or whatnot, and being able to go back and look at them. I think it can register a lot better, because again, like sometimes you don't realize the opportunity that you had, you know, until you moved on. And it's like, man, like I wish I would have wrote more down.
I agree with you. I just, and it's funny because I worked with Eddie Jackson for 3 years, and he was smart on that end, Donovan. That he used to always write things down, and I was like, why are you writing things down? I wish I would have done the same thing he was doing back then. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
Look, man, I want to thank you again, man, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything that you would like to say before saying to the viewers before we leave?
Again, man, this was great, man. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it, man. I felt like we were, you know, just out and about, man. You know, another day like on the road recruiting, you know, chopping it up on the sidelines. So, you know, I've really enjoyed this. But, you know, to the viewers, man, you know, every day is a new opportunity. You know, I've always been a glass half full type guy. So, you know, each and every day, man, you know, live your best day.
Well, you're welcome, man, for you know, welcome for those great words and dropping another last nugget for us. I appreciate that. Thank you, viewers, for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.